Alright everyone, welcome back. It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. So, Marvel's Avengers on PlayStation 4 Pro. I had a chance to play it now for a couple of days. And some of you have been asking about the HDR. How's the HDR on this game? And I'm going to show you the HDR settings and the picture settings that I'm using here currently on my C10 48-inch OLED by LG, which was gifted to me. Thank you, LG. And I hope you guys have your paper, pen or pencil and write these things down. This will only work for this model TV, okay? Specifically, the picture settings I'm going to show you here under the game settings, along with the HDR slider settings, will be only for the OLED 10 series, okay? So without any further ado, let's go ahead and let's do this. Now, before we continue, I want to emphasize something very important, okay? And I've said this millions of times. If you are watching this video and you are judging what you are seeing through video on this television based on what you are seeing, then you shouldn't be watching this video and you shouldn't be doing anything with your television, meaning that you just shouldn't be here watching this. Because if you're somebody who is judging picture quality based on a video through a camera, then you have no clue about televisions, you have no clue about the cameras and the exposure of the light on the camera lens. Nothing personal, I'm just simply letting you know you don't know what you're doing. So please do not judge what you're seeing here based on what you're seeing. I'm not doing this video to show you how it looks like here. I'm doing this video to give you my recipe, to give you my picture settings, and to give you my HDR slider settings. So that's why I said grab a paper, pen or pencil, and write these things down, pause the video. And you gotta have this television in order for this to work. Okay, anybody with any common sense should understand that. So I have to clarify this. No hard feelings, but I have to clarify this if you happen to be one of those individuals who do that kind of stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's do it. All right, so here, as you can see, the graphics mode, it's turned to 4K resolution. I'm not sure what the checkerboard resolution is. I'm guessing probably 1600p, which is, or I think it's 1600p. 1600p, it's a pretty good resolution for a checkerboard, especially for this video game on a 4K television, which is, I believe, similar to the Spider-Man checkerboard. I believe Spider-Man was 1600p. So it's a 4K mode. There's the HDR. The HDR is turned on, and we're gonna go to HDR calibration. All right. So there's a couple of things that are wrong here. Number one, the maximum lumens shouldn't be 1000 because this television cannot do 1000 nits. I think this television at best, because it's OLED, can go up to 900 nits. And that's with the full blast OLED light, no power saving mode, none of that stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our max lumens, which is right over here where my finger is, where it says 1000. We're gonna click on it and we're gonna change it to 850. We'll keep it to 850 because this television goes maximum 900, but it never reaches the 900. It reaches maybe 850 more or less. Okay, now that's done. Let's move on to our white point. What is the white point? The white point is your white levels. You see it like those little white bluish skies. You see definition of the sky. The reason you can see that definition of the sky is because your white point, it's not being overblown, meaning your white digital levels are not being overblown, and they are at the very equal level. So white point, I would leave the white point at 200. If you want to move it down, I mean, you could, But see, this is what happens when you do that. When you move it down, then now you're crushing your black digital levels. So this is why your white point should be at 200. But if you want to, you could leave it at 150. But I believe 200 is just where it needs to be. But again, it's up to you guys. Me personally, if you ask me, I would say 200. I will leave it at 200. This is what I would do. I would leave the white point at 200 and max lumens at 850. So this is what you should do, in my opinion, for the HDR slider for this OLED, okay? Now moving on to the picture settings. Now, you can't see it through this camera, and I said this millions of times, you know, you cannot see it. You'll just have to trust me, because I'm looking at my television here in person with my own 2 retina eyes, that the definition of the white clouds looks much better and it's not overblown. The black digital levels are even because we left the white digital levels at 200 and our peak brightness at 850. So right here we got a nice definition of HDR. So let's move on to the picture settings. The most important part is the picture settings, so let's move on with that. Alright, so we are under Game HDR mode. When you turn on the Game HDR mode, it automatically goes to Game Response mode. Automatically gives you the lowest possible latency and the lowest possible input lag, because it's utilizing the Alpha 9 processing chip and HDMI 2.1 to give you that lowest possible latency and input lag. So Game User HDR mode right here. How do you turn on the instant game response? Well, you go to the additional settings, you click on it, and you make sure that all of your 4 HDMI inputs have this option turned on, called the instant game response. You turn all of this on and you leave it on. You never touch it again. You leave it on, so that way automatically it's always going to give you the best possible lowest input lag and the lowest latency. Now moving on to the HDR Picture Mode. This is my custom preset that I have already set up for you guys. I hope you're gonna write this down, pause the video, take the notes. Alright, couple of things here. This by now should be obvious to everybody. Anyone who knows anything about the HDR after how many years now? 5 years, should know this by now. In order for you to take the advantage of high dynamic range, you have to have your backlit, or in this case OLED light, turned to maximum and your contrast turned to maximum. So that way you can enjoy those highlights of HDR, okay? This is always going to be to the maximum. It has to be like this. Moving on to the brightness. Brightness should be at the 50. You shouldn't move it anything other than 50. Should be at the default 50 balanced level, okay? So you always leave the brightness at 50. Sharpness, I left it at 10 because we already got a nice 4K resolution here. That's a 1600p, I believe, checkerboard, and it looks nice. So there's no reason for me to move the sharpness any higher than 10. So I leave it at 10. Color should be at 50. You already have excellent color accuracy on this television. You already got the full white color gamut. You got OLED panel with HDR, so you don't need to mess around with the color. Leave the color at 50. Now, let's move to the advanced controls. Dynamic contrast, you don't need this. Turn this off. You want to turn this off because you already have a OLED light and contrast set to maximum, and you already got your white digital levels adjusted through HDR. You already have HDR turned on, so there's no reason for you to turn this on. If you turn dynamic contrast on, then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be overblowing your white digital levels and you're going to lose detail. Okay, so turn this off. What you can turn on is dynamic tone mapping. Why? Because dynamic tone mapping helps HDR. It brightens up that HDR. If you turn it off, it dims it down. So you want to keep it on, okay? To brighten it up a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to use that because it's going to help the HDR peak brightness. And remember, HDR always wants that peak brightness. It wants to drink that peak brightness. It needs it like a water. I know it sounds funny, but that's the best way I can make a point to explain something. Color gamut, always leave it on automatic, guys, because if you keep it on extended or wide, then you're going to be overbleeding your colors. And you don't want to do that. Then you are not helping yourself with the quality. You're not going to experience this video game in its best possible HDR form. Keep it on automatic. White balance, the most important thing. All right, I get asked about this like all the time when it comes to white balance, tone of color. What is the best tone of color for video games? For video games, in my honest, humble opinion, if I'm allowed in this cancel culture, it's medium. But what are you going to say, why medium? Because it's a video game. It's not a movie. Movies can go up to warm color or maybe warm 1, warm 2 because they have that silver screen feel to it. So for the movies, the movie presets are always desired with a warm color, sepia, yellow, warm color. Okay, that's warm color. Yellow, warm. Cold blue, it's really for the sports, if you're watching sports presentation, okay? But the medium, it's a perfect balance between warm and cold temperature, tone of color. And I think that's where your white balance should be at the medium. In my humble opinion, I've been doing this for 7 years, okay? I think I learned a thing or two. Otherwise, the LG wouldn't send me this TV, would they? And for the love of God, don't ever turn on that motion flow. You don't need that motion flow. All right? Tom Cruise was right. You don't need it. I don't even know why it's being implemented on the television. So I hope you guys wrote these settings down. I hope that you grabbed a notepad with papers on it, pen or pencil, and wrote these things down. Okay? Because everything's explained here for you to look and see. And so how do I feel before we end this video? How do I feel about this game? I think this game has an excellent HDR. I would say it's as equal to Spider-Man in terms of high dynamic range. And it looks excellent. The graphics are nice. The resolution, I believe it's 1600p. I could be wrong. Checkerboard. And the HDR looks excellent on this OLED. Guys, if you're looking for a television that's going to give you the best possible advantage of your PlayStation 5 or your X Series X, look no further than $1,500, 48-inch C10 OLED. I'm telling you. And I'm not saying this because LG gave this to me for free. This is my 5th OLED. I'm telling you this because I know. I've been using OLED now for how many years? What, 3.5 years? Almost 4 years? This is my 5th OLED. I know what OLED looks like, and I know how good it looks like. And I'm telling you, if you purchase this TV this holiday season with PlayStation 5 or X Series X or X Series S, whatever you grab, you will benefit greatly with this television. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll see you guys in a live stream tomorrow. I wasn't able to do a live stream yesterday and today because I am busy. YouTube is not my main income. If it becomes my main income, if I become some big YouTube star, maybe I can do it full time. But right now, I got other jobs I got to work. So that's why I can't do the live streams every day. Okay, guys, well, thank you for watching. I hope this helps. And if you got triggered, well, too bad. If you want to hit that dislike, you can hit it. But just remember, it doesn't really do anything for me. All it does, it helps me get more clicks and more views. So if you want to hit the dislike, help yourself. Doesn't matter to me, as long as you click on the video. All right, other than that, I'm going to see you guys pretty soon. Take care. Have a good one. And don't be a